Hello and welcome. My name's Will Faulkner from Fox Footy, and I'm joined by West Coast Premiership coach Adam Simpson. Adam, thank you for your time this morning. First of all, congratulations. The elephant in the room, you joined the Fox Footy team in 2025. It's great to have you on board. Walk us through that. How did that come about? You've obviously had a very busy last 6 months to varying degrees, and was that something I guess you'd always looked at doing after coaching, or it just sort of just happened?
A little bit of both. Obviously, you spend a fair bit of time in front of a camera as a senior coach, and I started to build some really good relationships with some of the guys at Fox Footy, and you do the Monday nights on 360 with the coaches, and Jared Waitley and the crew, and I don't know, it just sort of felt like a bit of a natural fit for something to wean off the coaching and the AFL is to get involved in and do a bit of media and see if you can connect with the audience. And I feel like a bit of a rookie, to be honest. I've just been drafted, so we'll see how we go. But yeah, really looking forward to working with the team.
100%. Was the AFL media something you consumed a lot of when you were as a coach? You obviously had former teammates like David King. He's obviously also at Fox Footy. Were there people that you sort of watched specifically week in, week out, or it was just something you put to the side and just went about your business?
It's a good question, Will. Because when you're winning, you watch a lot more. When you're losing, so the last few years, I probably didn't consume as much as I once did.
Yep.
So it's sort of yeah. Feed your ego a little bit when you're going well, and avoid it when you're not. So, oh look, no, obviously I'm a Premiership teammate with David King, and some of the shows he's been a part of, and he mentored me a little bit throughout this process as well. The analytical side, I suppose you gravitate towards to a little bit, rather than the drama of it all, and the reality TV aspects of sport is probably something I haven't quite gravitated to, but the on-field and the analytics and what the coaches are thinking and going through, and going through a lot of those. We finish first and we finish last at West Coast, so I've sort of been through the roller coaster. So yeah, that's probably what I've consumed more of, is more the analytical side.
100%. And that like essentially answers my next question. I was going to say, do you see yourself focusing more on analytics when you're jumping into the commentary box next year? Special comments, somewhere in the middle? Could we see you doing some play-by-play stuff?
I'll leave that to the experts of play-by-play. Although I know the KO are putting out a competition to get a potential rookie as an expert commentator, and I think they've got to send in a video themselves, and they get mentored by the greats, which is not me. But no, I'll be working on probably more what the coaches are going through and what options they have, rather than being really critical of what I see. It's probably more what the two coaches are in a particular game are going through and what decisions they need to make and how they go about it, rather than being steadfast on what should happen. It's more, this is what could happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, as part of the KO call up, as you said before, you're a part of the team. You are a rookie. You're still on the field. Do you have any advice for people looking to jump in to the industry, sending in those videos for the KO call up?
Um, Not really. No, I feel like I'm not far off doing that myself. Look, from what I can gather, you need to be authentic. You can't fake it. So I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I need to find my own groove before I give any advice, I think.
Right. I look forward to seeing your submission. How do you think your coaching experience will influence like your ability to bring insight and analysis into the AFL games? You've been an AFL coach, a premiership coach for a long time. What do you see yourself
Yeah.
bringing specifically to the table?
Yeah, look, obviously there's the there's two elements the way I see it. One is in game day, and live calling, and what you see from a coaching point of view might be a little bit different than a commentary or a boundary rider. It's sort of, I'm looking at different things. A lot of the times you're not looking at the ball, so I'm not quite sure how that's going to go. Because you're looking for what's happening next, rather than what's happening straight away. So that'll be interesting. And then there's the pre and post game about selection, and how you handle people management, really, staff and players, and sometimes dealing with success is harder than dealing with failure. If you win three or four in a row, how do you handle that? You lose three or four in a row, how do you handle that? Players in form, out of form, so those type of things. I've had a lot of experience in, Will. How I project that and push that across the audience is something I'm still working on.
100%. Is something that you're looking forward to post-game interviews with players? You're obviously in your role as coach at West Coast, you're focusing on your own 23 that are playing out in the field, but it's a good chance to really get into the minds of opposition players that you may not have before and have had to coach and plan against. Is that something you're looking forward to?
I'm not sure how honest you want me to be in this interview, but not really. I find interviewing quite difficult. Obviously, I haven't done it, but I sense that's going to be one that takes a bit of time to get the rhythm of how you actually get the most out of people. And talking to players, even your own players, sometimes is a challenge. So yeah, I haven't really thought a lot about the post-game interviews with people, but I'm assuming it's part of the gig, and you got to get good at it. But you really want to get an insight of what happened, how you do that. Even the experts struggle sometimes, so it's something to work on.
100%. What do you think personally fans may not understand or see as much about coaching at the highest level of AFL? That's something you'll be able to sort of weave into commentary, I'm sure, in 2025. But what do you think is a common misconception with viewers looking on the TV screen that they may not understand about coaches in the box?
Yeah, there's a few things there. I mean, one thing that I have noticed with the Fox team in the last couple of years, and it's probably led by Kingy, and I know it's a bit biased, but the analytics that they do is not far off. It's almost spot on. And the way they critique the game post game, um, it's and they've got to look at every game, not just one team. So some of the things that I've seen when they talk about us in the last few years, it's not far off. So. But there's some things there on game day that, from a coaching point of view that, I probably focus on more than probably what I see in the analytics. And it's more around the trends and what's an event versus what's a pattern is interesting. If you see one thing, you go, oh, you got to react versus, okay, this has happened 3 or 4 times now. We need to change the game. Albeit it's difficult from a coaching point of view to pull too many levers. Some of the rules that they brought in the last few years,
Mm.
that 666 rule and the stand rule, that coaching that live is difficult as opposed to back in the day when you can just throw players everywhere. And there's definitely trends in the game now that are current and they'll change. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into that.
How did you view the game since departing West Coast for the rest of the season? I'm not sure how much football you watched. I assume you probably still consume a fair bit. Did you watch the game any differently at the back end of the 2024 season, significantly to what you did as a coach?
Not really. No. I mean, being in Perth for the last 11 years, you don't get to see a lot of live games. So you're quite often watching on TV. So I didn't change the way, probably a bit more relaxed, Will,
Yep.
watching the footy than I was as a coach. But no, the trends, they're in a state this year that the footy where it's obviously contested is possession is always been high, but a bit more one-on-one as the season went. And a lot of teams that I saw, were really backed in their system. What sits around that. And as you get into finals, you always notice the top 8 sides have their way of playing, and they just play their way better than the opposition plays their way. With 1 or 2 tweaks that you do when you play, you might try and take out, opposition's best player or defend the corridor more or do one thing, but essentially they're playing their way every week.
Yeah. This is a question I've always wanted to ask a sort of a coach. When you were sort of at the top echelon, the top part of the ladder in the glory days, was there ever a time where you are watching analytics from the Fox Footy team, for example, and they're pointing out something that you guys are doing really well, and you just sit back and you watch and you're like, I really wish you didn't say that because that's something that we've been priding ourselves on, and now maybe they've given the opposition a bit of a leg up.
Um, yeah, not really. What I suppose in the glory days, as you said, Will, we were known for a control team. We had I think there's this rhetoric around if they take over 90 marks, they win 85% or something, and that's just not what we tried to do. Um, you know, stat was nice, but our goal, I suppose, back then was not to be number one at anything, but to be top six at everything. And
Mm.
then sort of you can be this even look. So this, yeah, the rhetoric around back in the glory days, uncontested possession was the main part of our game. It was part of our game, but not everything. But it seemed to be something that everyone latched onto, and I think opposition teams tried to take away our uncontested game, but we had more tricks than just that.
hmm Someone who's been at the very top for a long time, like yourself, Adam, was John Longmire. He stepped away, a former Premiership teammate of yours. Just a word on him, really. He's had an outstanding time as a coach. He's had a very long tenure at Sydney. And what was he like coaching against when you were at West Coast?
bloody difficult. Is the way I describe that. I can't. We didn't beat them too often, the Swans, even back in the day. So yeah, look, once again, system-based coach. Obviously, very competitive in his nature. I'm lucky enough to be a premiership teammate with Horse back in '99, so I know him really well. Very reliable, stoic man who is a great leader. So I'm not surprised he had that sustained success. 14 years in the chair, though, eventually you wear out a little bit. So he'll have a break and he'll get into other things, and we'll see what happens in the future with him. But yeah, his record, and I know it didn't end the way he wanted it to, but it ended better than my ending, that's for sure.
No, you both had very, very good stints in the coach's box. You alluded to other things. Do you think Horst Longmire would be a good person to have in the commentary box anytime soon alongside you, Adam?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if you'd dip into that. He's got a lot of talent in terms of other areas. He's not just a coach. And I think once you go through what Horse has for 14 years, you just develop skills in other areas and how to manage people. And you got to make so many decisions that aren't football related, surprisingly, in that position. So he's qualified for so many things outside of football. But it wouldn't surprise me. He gets the bug back at some stage. It's only been 3 days for him. Let's just give him a bit of grace.
100%. Last question I've got for you, Adam. In the coach's box, was there a coach that's still currently in the system at the moment that was just a really hard tactician to plan against? You said Horst Longmire was a very, very good one. Was there anyone else around the competition that was really hard to plan for?
Yeah, as a coaching group, you spend a lot of time looking at structure and at the stop plays, so the stoppages, which I'm not sure if fans are really entertained by. So it's going to be interesting from a coaching point of view. That one of the things you look at is like how do they set up at set plays, so kick-in zones and stoppages. And centre bounces is a bit different now because of the rule 666. But around the grounds, you can send more numbers up. You can put numbers behind. You can equalise the game. You can do all those things. I found Chris Scott did something different at every stoppage. Now, I don't know if the players just went rogue or he had a specific plan. I suspect there's a specific plan around their rucks as well.
Mhm.
Forward to centre, back to centre type of thing. So you spend too much time trying to work out what they're doing and you forget what you're meant to do if you're not careful. So all the things that Chris does well, one of those things is probably he's got a really good system, but there's some flexibility with structure around that as well. So he was definitely a challenge.
That's great insight, Adam. I look forward to you analysing Chris Scott at stoppages in 2025 with the Fox
I'll
team.
do my head in.
Thank you very much for your time today, Adam. That's all we've got. Yeah, as I said, looking forward to having you as an addition with the Fox Footy team next year. It's very, very exciting, and can't wait to hear more from you.